The Illuminati, as the popular term for them today is, a group which has been around for thousands of years on this planet. They came from off of this planet and interbred with humans. They are reptilian. They have their chosen bloodlines, and they continue to try and keep their genetics pure and interbreed with these chosen bloodlines. These beings are part human and they are part reptilian. And they continue to run the planet. They are our world leaders, and nobody at this current time who is a government leader is there running the countries unless they were put there by them or they are one of them. Bloodline, in my particular case, I was a slave. And to them, most of humanity, or all of humanity, they consider inferior. They consider humanity a resource to be used for their purpose. They are at a time, a very important time right now, when they are working with some new energies on this planet that they don't work well with. So a lot is coming out into the open, and that is higher law, that it must come out into the open. And they are under higher law also.
And so what is the role that the Egyptian pantheon takes in with this, especially in with Akhenaten and that timeline?
Well, Akhenaten was a Christic being. So first, we were lied to about the nature of Akhenaten.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
First of all, and the Illuminati actually, in mockery of Akhenaten, have been using his image in their satanic worship stuff, and it's in mockery of him.
What happens on the night of Halloween?
That night is about the worship and homage to Satan, the great deceiver Satan, on that night, on Halloween, at this church.
You've conducted them in Europe and the United States. Can we start with the United States?
Yes, I have seen at rituals, I have seen George Bush, I have seen Madeleine Albright, I have seen Henry Kissinger, I have seen Ronald Reagan, and I have also, by the way, seen his wife, Nancy Reagan. I have seen Hillary Clinton before I knew she was Hillary Clinton at the time at these rituals. She is involved. The other people that I have named and are, as I have seen shapeshift into reptilians. Jay Rockefeller, and he shapeshifts. These people seem to all be connected to the Illuminati. Gerald Ford, I have seen shapeshift. Dr. Joseph Mengele, who took me around to these rituals a lot of the time, was also a shapeshifter. There are people in the European countries that I've seen shapeshift and be involved. The Queen there, I've seen Princess Margaret there, I've seen Charles there, and they shapeshift. I have seen Tony Blair there, and he shapeshifts.
So Akhenaten was a Christic being, and in terms of the Egyptian gods, you know, and I want everyone to hear me. Everything is infiltrated. There's nothing that is pure.
Wow.
That's what, you know, so when we're talking about these Egyptian pantheon of gods, it's all a distortion. There's really, we're at a point right now where this isn't arrogance, or this isn't, you know, like our teachings are the best or anything. This is just what it is. Anything outside of the founders' freedom teachings is highly distorted. It's really that simple. We're not trying to say like we have the only truth in the world. Even if you've never heard of the Guardian teachings, your higher selves are still going to take care of you. You don't need to know the Guardian teachings to ascend. You just don't. But the Guardian teachings are the only thing that actually tell humanity what the hell happened to us, right? So anything outside of it is actually distortion, and it was placed there on purpose. There has been a controlling group called the World Management Team since the fall of Atlantis. No one really knows this. The World Management Team has been directing human affairs, okay? Everything goes through the World Management Team since the fall of Atlantis. So what this means is this. If you type in Google and YouTube, right, you'll see videos of archaeologists who are saying, hey, we actually dug up a 20-foot skeleton of this huge humanoid who had 6 fingers, 6 toes, and all of a sudden, a bunch of men wearing all black came and took it all, and we don't know what happened to it. It's all gone. Who is this group?
They began excavating the 10 to 15 feet of guano that was here in this cave. They started discovering some unusual artifacts. They found duck decoys and baskets, other things for hunting and fishing in the nearby lake that's now drying up. But then they made some very unusual discoveries, and those were of red-haired giants that were mummified. In many cases, they were mummified, wrapped up like Egyptian mummies, and they had long red hair going down to their shoulders. The ranchers couldn't explain it. It was the strangest thing they'd ever seen. But the Paiute Indians who lived around here knew all about it. In fact, back in 1883, Sarah Winnemucca, a Paiute Indian princess, had written a book called Life Among the Paiutes. In that book, she talked all about the giant, red-haired people who used to live around this lake and live in this cave. She claimed they were cannibals.
That tribe would eat the dead. They would make war on my people. My people went to work and gathered wood to fill up the mouth of the cave. At last my people set it on fire and called out to them, "Give up or you will die." But no answer came.
Now, one of the great mysteries of the West is what happened to these giants? There was nearly 60 skeletons brought out of this cave, but today they're nowhere to be found. Is it that there is some kind of archaeological cover-up that has occurred here? Something that concerns giants?
That is the World Management Team. They have been suppressing our true history. Whenever archaeologists find huge 16, 24 feet skeletons of 6-fingered angelic beings or Nephilim beings, they get rid of it immediately. It's not going to fit the narrative of what the world thinks our history is. So they immediately come in. And this happens all the time all over the world, but no one knows this. Who is this ancient group? Why are they doing this? How long have they been around? The Guardians tell us that they're the World Management Team, and they've been directing human affairs since the fall of Atlantis for 13,000 years, guys. Okay?
During this most recent journey through the galactic night, you became highly self-reflective, and your brains are getting very activated. You've developed yourselves magnificently so that you would be ready to challenge forces that control your reality at the cosmic party. We Pleiadians like to refer to these forces as the World Management Team. And as far as I, Sacha, can ascertain, as I read your vibrations, these forces are directed on Earth by the Anunnaki, the Nephilim of the Bible, which means in Hebrew, gods who came down to Earth. These Anunnaki Nephilim are the ones who established the extensive and deeply ingrained management system, the net, at 0 point. I am Anu, the great god. My name dominates Earth's ancient history in Sumer and also in Egypt, where I was called On. I created Sumer and Akkad myself, and then I took over Egyptian culture when it got in my way. When I first came to Earth 450,000 years ago, there were a bunch of scraggly heathens running around. People were just like animals, but their neurological systems had potential. You are the only species I have animated, the only species in whom I have encountered the goddess.
We have been getting duped for 13,000 years here about our true history. Why? Because they needed the angelic human populace to remain stupid for 13,000 years. They couldn't just wipe us out, because if you wipe out the angelic humans, the stargates won't open. They needed us to completely forget who we were, what our DNA does, so when the year 2000 comes, we can unconsciously open up the halls of Amenti for them, and then they can suck 11 dimensions of time into their black hole system. This is what it has always been about, hijacking 11 dimensions, not just Earth. And this is why crystal starseeds from other planets incarnated during this cycle. This is why beings from other universes incarnated during this cycle. And this is why oriphims from internal creation, for the first time ever in our 950 billion years of history, are incarnating into our current time. Oriphims directly from internal creation who have no history of the cosmic wars. You know what I mean? Who were just here. And oriphims incarnating from there, they're called K8 factors. They actually have built-in plasma protection. You can't energetically mess with them. They are very strong beings, very capable.
So yeah, one last question. I remember I mentioned this to you on the DMs about the Anunnaki, the fallen angelic ones, Enlil and Enki. I haven't got round to reading the book. I will admit that. But the story, you know, they've got that whole story. It's probably BS, as you were saying. Anything that doesn't go with the place that you were saying is probably BS. But apparently, you know, Enki created us in that Garden of Eden, you know, and Enlil saw it and threw us out because he gave us consciousness. But we were already here prior to that, right? And was it the Neanderthal they created, or?
See, the Anunnaki are an invading race that invaded our universe, not just our planet. They invaded our soul plane and everything. And Thoth is one of the big players, and Thoth is the original Lucifer. The Anunnaki never created it. I'm sorry for my language, guys, but the reason that that narrative is actually being spread right now is because of the disinformation agent called Zecharia Sitchin. Now, when we talk about Zecharia Sitchin, who is he? He actually came up with the 12 planets and the whole volume he got on his research of translating the Sumerian tablets, right? So when you listen to Arizona Wilder was interviewed by David Icke. Arizona Wilder, I have some information on her on my page. She was a former Illuminati witch, and she was trained to do satanic rituals for the elite, for the Illuminati. Arizona Wilder, in her interview with David Icke, tells David Icke that one of the people she remembered being in those satanic rituals was Zecharia Sitchin.
They all have their quirks as to how they act, even in their reptilian form. And someone who's been talking about around this subject, and it seems to be popular right now.
Who's that?
This man by the last name of Sitchin. I've seen at rituals, and he is a shapeshifter.
What do you remember about Zecharia Sitchin?
Zecharia Sitchin was someone in the rituals attending the rituals who was not a major player in as far as the rituals went, but was someone that others present